There's a certain kind of person everyone wants in the room during a crisis. They don't raise their voice. They barely say anything at all. But somehow, the tension in the room drops the second they walk in. Most people call that a gift, but it isn't luck, and it isn't charisma. It's a skill running quietly in the background, and it almost never looks like what you'd expect from someone good with emotions. You've probably met someone like this, or you might be one of them and never realized it. Real emotional intelligence has almost nothing to do with being warm or talkative or good at giving advice. It shows up in small, quiet habits, the kind nobody claps for. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which ones apply to you, especially the last one, the one almost nobody notices in themselves. Let's get into it. Number 1, they pause, even if it's less than a second, before they react to anything. Not because they're calm by nature, because somewhere along the way, they train the gap between feeling something and doing something about it. Picture the version most people live. Someone reads a short, cold-sounding text from their boss, and within a second, they've already drafted 3 defensive replies in their head. Neuroscience has a name for the alternative: response flexibility. It's the space between an emotional trigger firing in the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex actually stepping in to decide what happens next. Most people skip straight past that gap. They snap back the second they feel stung and figure out what it cost them later. The relationship, the job, the version of themselves they actually wanted to be in that moment. People with real emotional intelligence don't feel less. They just let the first half second pass before they let it drive. It's not suppression. The anger or the hurt is still fully there. It just doesn't get to steer anymore, and that one habit alone changes almost everything else on this list. Number 2, and this one looks like nothing at all. They can sit next to someone who's upset and not try to fix it. Watch what most people do when a friend is venting about a bad day. Within seconds, they're offering solutions, silver linings, at least statements. Anything to make the discomfort stop. At least you found out now. Have you tried just talking to them? It sounds helpful. It's usually not what the moment needed. That's not empathy. That's the fixer's own discomfort, wearing empathy as a disguise, because watching someone hurt without doing anything feels unbearable to sit through. People with real emotional intelligence can tell the difference between a moment that needs solving and a moment that just needs a witness. So they wait, even when every instinct says, do something. And staying quiet turns out to require more control than jumping in ever did. Number 3, they know exactly where an emotion lives in their body before they can even name it. A tightening in the chest before a hard conversation. A drop in the stomach right as bad news lands. Heat behind the eyes a full 10 seconds before anyone would call it crying. This is called interoception, the brain's ability to read the body's internal state, processed in a part of the brain called the insular cortex. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio built an entire theory around it, that we don't just think our way to a feeling, we feel our way to a thought. Most people only notice an emotion once it's already loud enough to interrupt them, once the words are already out or the door is already slammed. People with high emotional intelligence catch the physical signal early, back when it's still just a tightening or a drop, long before it has a name, which means they catch the emotion before it's already running the show. And once they've caught it, something else kicks in immediately. Number 4, and it builds directly on the last one. Once they feel it in the body, they don't stop at good or bad. They get specific, not angry, humiliated, not sad, disappointed in themselves, specifically, not the situation. Psychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett calls this emotional granularity, and the research behind it is almost unfair in how consistent it is. The more precisely you can name what you're feeling, the less that feeling controls you. I'm stressed leaves you stuck. I'm overwhelmed because I said yes to something I should have refused gives you somewhere to go. Vague emotions run wild because there's nothing to grab onto. Named emotions get smaller the second you name them correctly, which raises an uncomfortable question. What happens when naming the emotion means admitting you were wrong? Number 5. In an argument, they don't need to be the one who's right. Most people's self-worth gets quietly wired to being correct, so being wrong doesn't just feel like a mistake, it feels like a threat to who they are. Two people arguing over which way is faster to the airport will sometimes fight harder over that than over things that actually matter to them, because in the moment, being wrong feels like losing. People with real emotional intelligence unhooked those two things a long time ago. Being wrong is just information. It's not a verdict on who they are, so they can hear, actually, that's not what happened, without their whole body going on the defensive, which frees up a strange amount of energy most people spend defending themselves for no reason. Energy that could have gone anywhere else. Number 6, and this is the one that surprises people. Sometimes they don't comfort you, on purpose. There's a role psychologists call the rescuer. Someone who jumps in to soothe another person's pain a little too fast, a little too automatically. It feels generous. Often it's actually about the rescuer's own discomfort with watching someone else struggle. A friend says, "I think I ruined that friendship." And the instant reply is, "No, you didn't. They're overreacting." Comforting, maybe. Also not true, and both people usually know it. People with real emotional intelligence can tell when comforting someone would really just be comforting themselves, when the reassurance is really just a way to make the awkward silence go away faster. So every once in a while, they hold back, on purpose, and let you sit with it instead of talking you out of it. That kind of restraint looks cold from the outside. It rarely is. Most of the time, it's the most respectful thing another person can do for you. Number 7. And this is the one that reframes every sign before it. People assume emotional intelligence means feeling everything, deeply, all the time. It doesn't. There's a well-documented phenomenon called emotional contagion, where someone else's stress or panic or sadness spreads to you like it's your own before you've even decided to let it in. Walk into a tense room and your own chest tightens before anyone tells you why. That's not emotional intelligence. That's just catching what's going around. The same way a yawn spreads across a room, or panic spreads through a crowd before anyone knows what's actually wrong. Real emotional intelligence is the opposite skill. It's the person from the very start of this video, the one who walks into a crisis and somehow lowers the temperature instead of raising it. Not because they feel nothing, because they can feel exactly what's happening around them clearly without absorbing it as their own. Reading the weather without becoming the storm. So if you recognized yourself in more of these than you expected, that's not an accident. And it's not something you were just born with either. Every single one of these is a skill, which means every single one of them can be built, slowly, on purpose, one paused half-second at a time. Start with just one. The next time someone's upset near you, try not fixing it. Just stay. Don't offer the silver lining. Don't reach for the at least. Just stay and see what happens to the conversation when you do. If this described someone you know without them even realizing it, send them this, and if it described you, the 7 signs are the easy part. The harder and more interesting question is what happens to all that awareness when nobody ever taught you where to put it down. That's worth its own video. Subscribe to Psychology Untangled for more psychology, explained simply.